What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys back yet again. More Halo Wars 2 action. Doing something a little bit more fun today. Is actually decided I was going to pick up, and you know, we're doing everything colony that we can. I decided I'm going to jump into some solo firefight on Blitz. This is actually a mode I don't play very much. I think part of that is because there's no experience tied to it, which I think was a big mistake. And I would like to see that as far as maybe future updates. But also, you know, there was some early achievements that we were able to knock out, and after that we really didn't play too much. So jumping back into it, this is a deck that I definitely designed specifically for this. I'll talk you through the cards that I have. I don't actually show it, which I realized was a little bit of a mistake, but I'll talk you through what I've got. So I've got the chopper, I've got the two different sets of hunters, obviously the hunter captain, I've got living barrier, and then really from that I just run the different locusts and the engineer. And this strategy ended up working out really well for me. So if you haven't checked it out, we do have a video up. It's pretty old at this point now, back when the game first came out actually, but we talked about how if you want to make it late into firefight rounds, you're essentially looking to set up on OP Ridge in between B and C. And if you don't know really how firefight works, it essentially works just like regular Blitz. But you'll see there's that little skull right underneath the time, and you'll see the percentage marker. And essentially you lose when blue, the opposing team, gets to 100%, which for them means that they have to hold the majority of the points, so 2 points, and then they start to accrue percentage against you. I also can't forget I do have the blister back, as you saw in there. So talking the strategy specifically, all we're looking to do is put a pretty good fight up on B, and then up on the OP Ridge here, I am simply going locusts and blister backs. I'm going to go way more locusts actually than blister back because I can actually get a lot more of them. Their range is really good. Their damage output is absolutely great for this. And we're going to actually make it pretty far. I think we make it to wave 43 in this one, which is pretty nice. The other thing, if you're not familiar with Blitz Firefight, that you absolutely have to focus on is energy pickups, which is why I have the chopper in here. Absolutely crucial, and you're going to see whenever they spawn in one per round. I always make a very strategic and always make it a top priority, pick it up, because unlike regular Blitz, you don't have recurring energy. You're not getting energy over the course of time, which is good because some of these rounds will actually last a little bit longer. They have a timer for the round at a minute, and I think as the waves go up, I actually think that timer goes up. I might be wrong there, but if they had recurring energy over time, you could actually probably game the system a little bit, and this way making you pick up the energy definitely makes it harder. Now the other thing to consider too is that the enemy will not pick up energy. They won't. Now they'll pick it up if you destroy the energy canister or drop, then they will pick it up. But if you leave it alone, the enemies don't go for it at all. And I think that was a good design standpoint, because if they were grabbing energy, a lot of times they don't drop in very good places for you to pick them up. So that would make it pretty tough. And since that's the only energy capability gain that you have, if the enemy did pick them up, you'd have a really hard time making it pretty far. But so again, basic strategy: get set up, grab B and C. You don't have to put a lot on C. I usually put you'll see I have an Ironclad Wraith there. I put a Reaver. I think I've got an Engineer over there. I've got some Hunters just sitting up above C, really just to grab energy. And then besides that, you're really just setting up a lot up onto OP Ridge here, in between B and C, and then make your good fights on B. You don't actually have to put a ton of units on B itself, just enough so that enemies will essentially walk into the range of your locusts and your blisterbacks and let them fire away. Now, the other key thing for me is the fact that the Hunter Captain, especially in this, he's absolutely great. He soaks up a ton of damage. He does a ton of damage. His shock ability is absolutely awesome. So it's pretty easy for the most part to keep him and a few units up on B and make this fight. And like I said, you're just going to see me calling blisterbacks. I've got a Reaver up there. I will eventually set up an Ironclad Wraith up there when I get some energy for it, and the reason for that being is later on in the rounds, as the rounds go on, the enemies obviously get harder. There's more of them, but you start to see some blast units here. I actually think that was the first time that I did see some, and so I knew that I needed to get the capability to defeat blast if something came over. Especially they will have some blast, either banshees come in, sometimes they try to sneak a jackrabbit up there, and that's the other reason for living barrier. And honestly, if you're trying to make some pretty deep run, maybe you still need to get the achievement. Colony and trying to do it solo is actually probably a really good way to go. Again, the 3 locusts are awesome. They absolutely tear all this stuff up. And then you really have the rest of the tools that you need. Again, Hunter Captain, super great. I almost, it's hard to choose if I would prefer him or Atriox in this. I think his capability for more damage is actually pretty good, so I think I would almost prefer the Hunter Captain. The only thing that steers me a little bit away from that is the fact that he does cost 260, and using your energy smart here and keeping units alive is another big key. Now the nice thing, again, you got your blood fuels, locusts up there and all that kind of stuff, so they do a great job of healing themselves. And then really two or three engineers can do a crazy amount of healing for you, and once you have the range set up, I mean, stuff absolutely just gets demolished. So it's not hard to kind of keep the fight going and keep things in here. Sometimes they will move units kind of around, all the way around the far side, kind of the south side of B, but for the most part you won't see that. You really just need to defend this branch point here, where they'll try to send units up to C, and then essentially the western portion of B, which is where they like to come from. Now, strategy-wise, I would say the first 20 rounds or so really are not bad for strategy. Like I said, I think if you're smart with your early units and you can, get a little bit set up and just keep those guys alive, you shouldn't have any problem starting to get OP Ridge set up, and then from there OP Ridge really takes care of itself as long as you're smart with the blast units, as long as you're paying attention to those, and as long as you make it a priority to take out anything long range. So they will start. I think they've got a Kodiak that's shelling me over here. I'm just going to try to get out of range of it, but and the airwaves are pretty brutal. Usually that's probably the one time where I will see units, I will lose units just because they can essentially swoop right in, and there's nothing that really can block them. Now, you'll see a lot of units stack up on A. You don't have to worry about those. Those units will stay there. When you get to every 10th round and clear that, all of the units on the map, enemy units that are still remaining on the map, will actually go away. Now, a lot of times they will bring those units sitting on A in, in subsequent rounds, but sometimes they don't. So that's just part of the strategy. You can kind of keep that. And like you see here, I'm really set. I'm actually going to get to a population density here of 30 units here in just a few. And kind of go on autopilot for a little while. I've got 2 Hunter Captains, I've got a Locust down there, I've got some engineers. Excuse me, this Hunter absolutely does a great job of killing those guys over there and picking me up some energy. So like I said, like having the 2 Hunters. I spoke incorrectly. I don't have the 2 Reavers, just have the Prowling Reaver, like I said. And Living Barrier is actually really great. It really helps to defend OP Ridge from that north side as well, so it's a nice addition. It does die pretty quickly. I think the most I had it last was maybe 2 rounds. They will target it, and a lot of times they'll kind of target it as they run by, so you don't really typically see a lot of units actually moving up onto the ridge. More so, I think you see them kind of just running by, which is why this centralized setup is good. Your Locusts can shoot, your Blisterbacks, they have the capability to range that as well. Here we see, for whatever reason, I thought this was fixed, my Engineers just constantly healing the same Blisterbacks that took a little bit of damage. They never go to full health. I really did think they fixed that. Maybe they did, and now it's bugged again. I'm not sure. You can see they will sometimes get some units up to C, but for the most part, like I said, I've got just a few units on there. I think an Ironclad, an Engineer, Hunters, and a Reaver. They'll do a great job because, like I said, you get a ton of units destroyed really with your units up on OP Ridge. Now I do lose a few here because, like you saw, they brought in a lot of air units. They actually brought in a Blisterback and tried to lay it right down in my center, but quickly able to get back up to 30 capacity here, and that's really where you want to be honest. Once you hit that, as long as you can survive a couple waves of not having to really call anything in or losing any units, which does get pretty tough. I'm at 24 at this point. You really can survive for quite a while after this. I would say the toughest rounds get up in, higher 30s and definitely into the 40s. They get pretty tough, just mostly because they start to bring really diverse armies, and that can be hard to take down. Now, if you're not a fan of using locusts and you want to go still a siege route, then Blisterbacks are definitely your way to go. The reason that locusts for me work out so well, one, they're a lot cheaper on energy, so you're not going to be cycling, especially having the capability to have 3 of them. You're not going to have to cycle through them. You can really just drop them in. You can essentially get a blood fuel and a regular locust for what you can for a Blisterback. Now I think damage output, your Blisterback's still a better option, but especially in the early game, you do need to kind of consider your energy consumption and what you're using it on. You don't want to be cycling a whole lot. You want to be able to play units. And like I said, this setup works really great. You can see just how fast a lot of stuff just gets shot down, really from the Blisterbacks and from the locusts. I mean, they do a really great job. Consistent damage. They generally all target in pretty close to the same thing as well, which is nice. So it's a good setup. And like I said, if you can get Blisterbacks to back them up, you're in an even better spot. The other thing with having there's kind of a two-sided strategy here. A lot of the enemy hero units that you will see will actually be the guys from the campaign, where they will pull units in. Now that's where I like having a guard unit in conjunction with my hero units, because that can help to soak up a ton of damage. But also, having those hero units, especially the Hunter Captain, get pulled closer is actually just ideal, because then they get into shock range. That's the one area where Blisterbacks will actually help you, is because with them, actually no, I think they can be picked up from being locked down. So that's kind of where maybe having Locusts is also just a good option too, just because if they do, they're pretty mobile. You can pretty easily set them back and get them back into position, because they are pretty quick. So like I said, I'm liking this. I've liked this deck. I played this one single game after I made the deck and made it pretty specific to this one. You might be able to take Living Barrier out and drop something else in there, maybe another fast unit, maybe actually putting a Banshee in wouldn't be a bad idea. The reason I say that is not so much because you need the anti-air support. You could go the Reaver side as well, but it's also another fast unit, in addition to the chopper. You don't want to be wasting a ton of population with energy picking up units. You want to be able to just have 1 or 2. I start to just use Locusts here because they're actually pretty good. They're pretty quick, but I do like the chopper capability to be able to move around the map. Here we just get into the 30s, and again, setup pretty good. They did take my hero units out, so that was one thing that kind of hurt me just a little bit. The other thing to consider is after every 10 waves, you do get an extra few seconds to be able to go maybe do some energy pickup. So you saw me send my chopper over to the far west of the map to pick that one up, and honestly, I think that was a good setup, and I wouldn't have been able to probably do that in between rounds. It was that round, after 30 that allowed me to do that. And again here, like I said, it's pretty much autopilot. So I'd be really curious to see if you guys have any other strategies that you found that really work. But this definitely works. 1v, solo like I'm doing it. If you want to do 2s or 3s, you absolutely can. I've helped a lot of people actually pick the achievement up for getting into the later rounds of this. So that's something that you can do as well. Grab some buddies. That does help too, because then you can have a little bit more of a focus. So one person can really be the B defense, if you will. One person can kind of be your C guy, and the person that sets up on the ridge, and that helps kind of balance the load. Now, as the game goes on, especially if you're playing 2s or 3s for this, I do recommend kind of extending OP Ridge up kind of to the northeast of the map. And the reason I say that, kind of where I put that blister back in, is because that really just helps you take out a lot of the units that would move to C. You can't give completely up on C. You have to have units on C, because like I said, they will move those air units in pretty quickly, pretty fast, and be able to get you that way. But like I said, for the most part, the strategy really works. 1s, 2s, or 3s. And this game mode is fun. I do like playing this. I just think once you do this and you make a pretty late run into the game, there does become some diminishing returns, to be honest. And it can be hard to kind of get into the really, really high levels, especially on solo. Just doing it with one person set up, because there becomes a point, especially into the 40s, and you'll see. I mean, we're at round 35 right now. They've taken 28% of points, so I feel like I'm doing really well. Some of the really later rounds, though, just get absolutely brutal, because they just bring so many units that your stuff can't keep up, and then their damage output kind of pales in comparison to what you have. So, but do like this. I do wish, moving forward, maybe even if you got a couple hundred experience, for playing this, or maybe 100 experience every 10 waves or something like that, just to put some incentive to it. In other Halo games, you could play Firefight and you can pick up experience. So I'm not really sure why they didn't do that here. It would have been nice for that to be the addition, but let me know what you guys think. Try this deck out. Like I said, I talked you through the cards, and you can see what I got. I talked you through the strategy. It definitely works, as you guys can see here. And we make a pretty good push. This is about the point, I think, where they start to get pretty heavy up onto B, and it becomes pretty tough to knock out the variance of units they have. You saw Hornets up there, you saw Sentinels, I saw some what looked like kind of powered up Scorpion tanks. They weren't Grizzlies, and then they do a good job of trying to spread me out and get a lot of different stuff onto the points, and here we do give up a pretty good percentage, and they've taken out quite a bit of my stuff on OP Ridge. The nice thing for me, the thing that lets me extend a few more rounds, is actually pretty much all my blister backs are still alive. I am running low on the energy piece again. As you can see, I wasn't able to pick up the one previously. I'm going to try and go grab these two while I can. Now it looks like they've got some of the shock Scorpions in there, so and they're getting vultures up, and the vulture missile ability is really good. That's the other thing with going into later rounds. You definitely see them start to use some more of the abilities and things like that. They're also getting some Spartans up in here, so at this point I'm just holding it out as long as I can, trying to make it as long as I can. And I think we'll go a couple more rounds before we finally get finished off. But like I said, let me know if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed me playing some Firefight. Let me know. Subscribe down below, hit that little bell button. That'll give you the notifications when we upload, and so you can check out new videos as they come up. Got some more stuff coming as well, so stay tuned to the channel. We're talking more Colony and more Halo Wars 2. A couple other things we'll be bringing to the channel pretty soon as well. Follow us on Twitter, Average Gamer Guys. Join the Average Gamer Guys Club if you need some people or looking some friends, maybe some people to play Blitz with for sure. We got a pretty good community on that as well, so pretty neat. So feel free to join. We accept everybody, and yeah, so we'll wrap this one up. I've been Doc with Average Gamer Guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for checking this one out. Like I said, I did have some fun. If you do want the card list, I can definitely write that down in the description below. So yeah, so thanks for watching. We'll check you in the next video.